In 1989, Mandy Stavik, an 18-year-old student at Central Washington University, returned home for Thanksgiving. The following day, she went on a run with her dog Kira and never returned. 3 days later, her body was discovered in the Nooksack River. The investigators theorized that the assailant first kicked the dog into a ditch before taking Mandy away and sexually assaulting her approximately 5 miles from her jogging location. Signs of struggle were evident from scratches on her arms and legs. Upon conducting the post-mortem examination, male DNA was successfully extracted from Mandy's body. This male DNA, identified as semen, indicated the likelihood of a sexual assault. Various individuals of interest, including Mandy's boyfriend, were interviewed by the deputies. Around 30 local men provided DNA samples for examination. Regrettably, none of the samples yielded a match. As a result, the case went unsolved, casting a somber shadow over the community for the next 2 decades. Everything changed in 2013 when 2 mothers engaged in a conversation while their children enjoyed a day at the water park. Unexpectedly, one of the mothers mentioned the name Mandy Stavik. Both Backstrom and Anderson, who didn't really know each other, had long suspicions about the same guy. Anderson had refrained from sharing her suspicions with the police, and similarly, Backstrom had not discussed her concerns with anyone. As they talked at the water park many years later, they found themselves compelled to vocalize his name, Timothy Bass. Anderson and Backstrom had unsettling experiences with him, but they had never shared their doubts openly. However, after sharing their stories with each other, Anderson chose to speak to the police. Tim Bass resided less than 2 miles away from Mandy's house, directly along her jogging path. Tim Bass, along with his father and brother, hadn't ever been approached to provide a DNA sample. Throughout the previous 25 years, Tim had been leading a quiet life in a nearby neighborhood. He was married and employed as a bakery driver. When questioned about Mandy, Tim acted as if he had no recollection of her, at least initially. When the police requested a saliva sample from him to obtain his DNA, he declined. His reason was that he had seen crime shows and noticed how many people ended up in prison after giving their DNA. A fresh strategy was put into action. The police assigned a surveillance team to monitor him and track his path. Throughout the entire night, they trailed Tim Bass as he made his deliveries for the bakery. The police were anticipating that he might discard an item containing DNA, but unfortunately, this did not happen. The police contacted the bakery where Tim was employed and had a conversation with his supervisor, Kim Wagner. While discussing matters with the investigators, Wagner came to the understanding that they were investigating the murder of Mandy Stavik. From then on, she closely monitored Tim Bass every day, observing whether he disposed of any items that could contain his saliva. This careful observation continued for 3 lengthy months, until at last, she witnessed him discarding a plastic cup and a Coke can. 3 months later, the police received results from the state crime lab, and the DNA was a match. In 2017, Tim Bass was arrested by the police almost 3 decades after Mandy's death. He faced charges of kidnapping, rape, and murder, resulting in a prison term of nearly 27 years. He didn't receive a life sentence because prosecutors weren't sure they could prove he planned the murder.